Lining in is where we take something like a V-tool or a deep, very deep, narrow gouge, and we go round the outline of the carving, this element that we want to keep, and isolate it from all the background here, which we're going to reduce, we're going to lower. Before I actually make this cut around the outside, let me just remind you of something. If you remember, earlier on we looked at what happened when we made a deep cut diagonally across the wood. And if you recall, one side was really good and the other side tended to tear, tended to pull up. Depending on how good the wood is, you'll get more or less tearing. And that you have to come down this side, the opposite way, to improve, to make this a good side. So why that's important here is because the grain in this wood is going in this direction like this, across here. So we need to put the good side, the side which is clean, to the subject, and anything that's going to tear into the waste. And it's a little bit like sharpening a pencil. So we're going downhill. So I want to come downhill to the middle of the pencil. It's a good way of thinking about it, like this. And then on this side, I want to come down here and down here. That way, I keep the good side to the subject. So, starting off, I'll start somewhere up here, and I'm going to come with a running cut. I'm going to come around like so. Okay, I'm trying to do it in one swoop, one cut, and I'm trying to even out these things. I'm not worried about this sort of detail, I'm just separating this out. So then I'd match it with a cut on this side, and I try and keep a consistent depth. And I'll be just outside the line that I've drawn. And I come this side here. And then I'll have to come around here. Now if it's not deep enough, I'll go around a little bit more. I'll repeat the whole thing, go around again. So this is lining in. Now you could well ask, why do we line in at all? Why don't we go straight for a gouge and use a stab cut and whack it straight in? Well, let me explain the real benefit of lining in now. Let's say the outline here is drawn on the surface of the wood like this. So there's my line, and here's my subject, and there's all the waste wood here. And if I was to cut through the wood, it would, I'm exaggerating, say a bit like that. So there's my point here. Now if I was to take my gouge, and imagine this is my gouge or my chisel, it is, as we said before, just a wedge. So what would happen is we get pressure coming like this, and this could well damage my subject, especially if the grain is short or weak. So what we do is just outside that line, we put the V-tool. So this is my lining in around the edge. So what happens now is when I put my wedge in here, the pressure pushes all this into the waste. It releases the pressure over here, and this part, my subject, is protected. So one of the main reasons you're doing lining in is to protect the subject from this pressure of the wedge. Practice this lining in on some of your spare wood. Draw any sort of shape. It could be straight like this, or it could be wobbly, doesn't matter. And then see if you can work out the good side and the bad side. Now if you've got waste wood, let me just say, if this is all going to be removed, then of course it doesn't really matter if you cut into it with this lining in. But the exercise here is to see if you can work out which is good and which is bad. So have a play with this. We will put this into the sample board a bit later.